Well, hi everybody. It's been a minute since we had a Four Women Talking recording. This is Susie Church Brown. I have with me three amazing women, and say hi everybody.
Hi.
Hi, everybody.
So Morgan, Lisa, and Hillary are here with me, as per usual, with our Four Women Talking. We haven't seen each other, talked to each other for a while. So just to quickly catch up, Morgan, what's up with you?
I'm still in Shanghai or Shanghai. I haven't been Shanghaied, but life is just China maxing to the brim, That's just, I'm always ahead of the curve on all the trends. So that's why we're here.
Which
And
is how we know Morgan to be.
that's right. I mean, it's super important to me. Um, we I didn't. I'll say my spouse bought a mahjong set that I'm sort of morally opposed to after hearing about the New York white ladies that are selling their kits for however much. But anyway, so now I might have to try to find some actual Chinese women to teach me mahjong and then never speak of it again.
I find the sound of the tiles very soothing.
Yeah. So I'm of an age where like one of the only computer games on early computers was Mahjong, but I had like no idea how the game worked. It was like the stacked Mahjong tiles. I truly don't understand how the game was meant to work, but you just like matched tiles and then it would like be like you lost. Like I never got past like the first row of, well, the first row was one tile. So I did get past that one, but then I'd always lose. But I don't think that's actually how you play. Like, so I don't know what that game was or why that was what was offered on early computers.
That is
But
curious.
anyway, yeah, that's a big derailment
I
from
think you
what you
should learn and
asked.
then teach us the next time we're
Yes,
together because I have no idea how to play.
I agree.
I
Yeah,
do,
I
and
mean,
I love
I
it.
feel
So
like
I will play
actually
with
mod,
you.
Oh,
yeah.
Hillary will teach us.
Hmm.
So,
No,
oh, do
no,
you play?
I do. We went on the Pico Trail and we kind of got stuck in a cabin for a few days, and Maureen taught all of us how to play mahjong, and it was
Yeah.
amazing. Except for the parts where she'd be like, I don't know, my grandma taught me that, but I don't think we really do it, so ignore those pieces." So I don't know that I really know the proper way, but I do know how to play with Maureen and her three daughters.
Right.
Excellent.
Well, what I do know is that like pretty much yes, every family has like house rules. And so I think that you have learned how Maureen's family plays, and that's a totally legitimate, respected form of the game. So,
Excellent.
yeah, well, I think yeah, okay. I guess I'll try to do it without being appropriating Chinese culture too much, and I won't resell it, but the four of us can learn to play together in our Golden Girls era.
We will have like a place that we go to for Mahjong. That'll be like our Mahjong location.
I like that idea.
Yeah. Lisa, how have things been with you?
Things have been really great. I have, since we talked last, I have completed my 50 days of climbing for my 50th birthday, and Morgan came and joined me for
Ooh,
5 days. It was amazing.
it was
And
amazing.
then I got to see you, Susie, in person here in the DC area, which was lovely. Although I'm sorry that you're back here for the reasons that you're back here, it was also really lovely to get to hang out in person. And I just got back from a week in Italy, facilitating a storytelling retreat in southern Tuscany. And yeah, figuring out kind of what I want to do with the rest of my life now that I've entered my 50s. It feels pretty exciting.
You can start on a whole new career like I did.
Yeah, I'm considering.
So, and Hillary, you are going to be our one teaching us all the things today. But how have things been with you?
Can you guys not hear the static or the feedback? That's not, you don't hear it. Or you do. Okay, this is driving me nuts. So I'm really trying to like fix it by shaking my phone a lot. So apologies. No, nothing's new with me.
I don't know about you guys, but April has felt like the longest month of all. We've been pretty good about putting out this newsletter every month, which is what we started this year and said we were going to do. And I looked at one and I was like, I think it's going to be 12 pages long for April. Like, I don't know.
Hey, Hillary,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt. Your audio is really, I think, chunking out. Can you like hop off and hop back on and let's see if that connects better? All right. So while we're waiting for our dear friend to join back up,
Your updates, can we ask you?
yeah, so for those who don't know, we're evacuated from Riyadh right now. It is basically the longest 3-week periods chunking together as because we were definitely not planning on being here as long as we have been. It is yeah, we're in an apartment and it's totally fine. The kiddo has started school and I think he thought that it would be sort of like what American high school looks like in movies, and it's not. And so he's had a little bit of like um, uh, come to Jesus-ing, like, oh wow, so this is what it really is like. And the other thing that we've learned is that the US does IB, so the International Baccalaureate program, completely differently than the entire rest of the planet.
Oh,
And
wow.
They do.
so it's not quite as transferable as we thought. And so he's had to really try and get his feet under him. No child on the planet it likes to go to their teacher and be like, "Hey, can I have more work, please?" But it's basically what he has to do because all the kids here in his classes are in test mode because that's the way it works with IB here in the States. They don't just take the tests at the end of the 2-year diploma period, so grade 12, but they take it at the end
Right.
of grade 11 too, depending on what their
They just
classes
do 1 year
like.
per course, right?
Yep, and then HL is the second year if you're doing HL. So HL is high level. Those of you who are doing diploma program or your kids are doing diploma program, I highly suggest you ask a lot of questions before you come stateside. So just
Yeah,
consider
don't
it. And
switch mid-year, mid
yeah,
DP.
don't get evacuated in the middle. It's
Yeah,
not a
not that that was
positive
a
experience.
choice.
But other than that, like things are okay.
What about
We
you mentioned your career change. I don't know if we've talked about that
Yeah.
much, but I would love if you shared a little bit about what you are doing there.
So I am, yeah, I decided that I wanted to be, I mean, I have a master's and I was a professor before we joined the Foreign Service. It was really hard to maintain that sort of career trajectory when we started. And so I've done a number of family member positions, all of which I appreciated, but none of which were like really in line with my particular interests. Um, and the I'm trying to remember at what point it came to be that like I really wanted to think about something a little more post Foreign Service. I remember sitting with Morgan at one point after we did a workout on Saturdays at a field, and there was a number of other people who joined, and they left. Everyone else had left, and Morgan and I were just sitting on the court sweating and chatting. And I remember I looked at her, I'm like, I think the only thing I'm qualified for is to be a Starbucks barista if I were to go back to the US. And it's really kind of considering how many things I have done and how much responsibility I have done. I have, been overseeing different groups of people, projects, etc. I have a $500,000 grant warrant for the US government. Like I have all of these areas of responsibility, but when you're applying for a job stateside, they don't really give a shit about that sort of thing. And so, anyway, I just really spent a lot of time kind of like, I mean, soul searching is maybe not the right way to say it, but like just really considering options and such. And so I applied for and was accepted into a school counseling program.
Woo
Um,
woo.
I did not read all of the fine print. I am sad to admit. And the program is, of course, all online, except for those synchronous classes. So when I was in Riyadh, I was doing my synchronous classes at 1 and 2 in the morning.
Mm.
So let me tell you how great my contributions to the class discussions were. I'm sure they were just like, that's Susie, like she is. Um, so now, anyway, being in DC, we are in a moderately better comparable time zone to where the classes are held. So that's good. But yeah, I'll be done in a year and really excited. I will be a school counselor.
That's so cool. I'm super excited for you. And I always think I think it's very inspiring when people go back to school and like um, retrain or there's another word I'm looking for that I can't find right now, upscale, whatever it is in their 50s, even in their 60s. And there's a woman I know who at 50 decided to go back to school, get a master's and start counseling. And she's had a 25-year career. And so many people, I talk to a lot of people who are in their 20s trying to figure out, and they're just like, I got to figure out what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And I'm like, well, do you though? There's time and maybe you'll change along the way. And as someone who's changed multiple times, I think it's very inspiring.
I think it's so important that we remain like elastic in what we're doing, right? And
Mm.
I don't mean that like bouncing from one thing to the next, but just like we can't wed ourselves to what we're doing. And I see that in this isn't about me, so sorry, Hillary, I'll shut up in a minute. But like I see that in the people who I see retiring from the Foreign Service, for example, and they have defined themselves by this role. And now, as they're coming to the end of that, especially as there have been a lot of unfortunate terminations in positions, and people aren't quite ready. They haven't gone through the grieving steps in order to like say, "Oh, well, I'm retired now." And so then struggling with, well, then who am I if I'm no longer a diplomat, right? And so I never really was wedded to a job in that same way because, all of the jobs were not temporary, that's not the right way to say it, but not like I knew they weren't my life goal type of a job. But I've also, I see places where I can still make a contribution and I can still like make a positive difference. And I am absolutely certain that the mental health of our young people is is a source of worry. And if I can, positively impact, I work for 10 years or whatever after this, and I can positively impact that many young people, then I feel like I've helped hopefully better, as they grow up, make a positive difference in their course of direction as well. So anyway, yeah, motivated to still contribute, even though how old am I? I'm gonna be 53 this year. So
Oh my gosh, you have so much to contribute. And I'm so excited for the kids that you're going to work with because they're, yeah, in for something special.
let's hope. Hillary, how is your audio now?
Thanks, Morgan, for your comment. Sorry, guys, I switched to iPad. Something's going on with my phone. It's giving all sorts of fun feedback, which is not awesome. No, Susie, I'm so excited for you. I think this is a great idea, and I think you're going to be amazing at it. I wish you'd done it like 20 years ago. Only because I feel sorry for the students who will miss out on having you as the counselor who 20 years ago could have benefited from it. But I also know you've done amazing work in embassies around the world, which, dealing with pompous diplomats probably really going to set you up well to deal with teenagers. Let's be honest. So I think you're on the right path. So yeah, sorry about I don't remember what I was saying about Callie or about life or anything before I got the feedback from my microphone. But
I
things
think
are
you
good.
were talking about how much you love the hot weather.
I'm just melting every day. Yes, Morgan, I'm wearing jeans. I realize, but look at the top half is like basically bare. Um, but yeah,
Smoking hot.
She does
I don't
have
know.
clothing on, everyone. I know you can't see the video. She does have clothing on.
But my shirt is like the same color as my skin, so it really does look like I'm naked in the video, which is like
distracting me. But no, April has just been like this super, super long month. And I don't know if it's been the same for you guys, but we've been putting out this family newsletter and we're now on our 4th edition, I think. And I looked at one and I was like, I think it's gonna be like 15 pages long. Like it's just, there's just been so much going on right now. And we've had family visits, we've had vacations, we've had, just a lot changing in our lives, and things have been going really, really smoothly. It hasn't always been like an easy adjustment to Cali, but this month just a lot of things came together, and we're starting to get a new friend base here, which is good. They're all significantly younger than us, which keeps me young, I guess, and I feel like the old person in town. It's cool, 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 cool. And yeah, I don't know, we're doing as good as we can here right now, and I think it's great. But yeah, I've been busy writing and I can't wait to share the pre-draft of my book with you guys. If I work up the guts to do it, I'm not sure I will. Still remains to be seen. But I have now written 17 out of 22 chapters, so I'm feeling very motivated at this moment in time to get it out the door, only for like AI to tell me yesterday that the publishing after you finish the manuscript is actually like good 8 to 12 more months. So I'm slightly annoyed with that. But I will do it, and I will do it properly, and it'll be fine. I came up with my pen name, which I'm super excited about, which of course I can't share because then what good would it be? So yeah. Anyway, that's my
awesome. Congratulations.
thing.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
And you've learned enough about money things that you are going to be teaching us, which is the whole point of this recording.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really excited to talk to you guys about it. I really am. I want to caveat all of this, of course, with like, I am not a financial professional. I have mostly no idea what I'm doing half the time. And I want you guys to really chime in too, please, because I feel like this specific financial journey for me has been so much about learning, but also like so many things that I put off for so long that I didn't think were important, that I didn't think I needed to know or understand, or that I thought, the company or the business or the spouse or someone else would take care of it. And it really came down to me in the end, taking all of the first steps, really, really timidly. But also, I just decided one day, like, I don't want to be stupid about this stuff anymore. I can't afford to be, and I can't keep ignoring it. And so yeah, I took the steps. And now, just this week, 3 different people have called me and been like, so what do you think about this trade? Or what are you doing this week? What's happening here? And these are people who were former hedge fund traders. And I'm just like laughing because I'm like, I know nothing about this. I've been doing this for approximately 8 months. And so like, please don't ask me. I don't know. Maybe I've just been really, really lucky, or maybe this is just something that clicks for me and makes sense. And I regret wasting so much time not doing it.
Can you zoom out and tell us, when you talk about like this stuff, like what is it, and what did you really, before you jumped into this, like what were your hopes of understanding?
Yeah. Thanks, Lisa. So, well, I had been putting off planning for retirement for quite a while. Susie's husband had done a couple of courses at the embassy for people who, didn't feel very smart about retirement stuff and savings and these kinds of things. And so I went, and he convinced me at the ripe age of 40 to open an IRA. That is how much, like, that is how far behind I am, ladies. Like, I was really like, okay, it's something I knew I should do, but the years just kept ticking by and I didn't open it. And sometimes I really get hung up on that first step, like going to the website, doing it, and then moving the money. Like, I know I need to do it. I know it'll happen after it, but I just don't do that first step. And so, yeah, with a little encouragement from Susie's spouse, I did open my IRA and proceeded to fund it and put all the money into it. And then 3 years later, he's like, how's it doing? I'm like, it's not doing anything. He's like, did you invest the money you put into it? I said, no, I didn't know I was supposed to do that. Why didn't you tell me to do that? And so again, I'm feeling like an idiot, right? Just dumber and dumber and dumber. Now I've done the IRA, but I never invested it. So it's just sitting there and basically a good savings account. But this all kind of hit a head last summer, and I was like, no, no more of this, no more being dumb about it. And I remember sitting at my computer at work, because at that point in time we had no work because USAID was closing. And I opened up ChatGPT and I put in a prompt that was, I feel really, really dumb and really insecure about my finances and about like understanding the nuances of how to save and where to invest and how to invest in all of this. And I had made a whole spreadsheet of my total assets and my spouse's total assets and our joint assets and all of this. And I fed it into ChatGPT. And I was like, I need you to tell me how to manage this money better. Because my partner and I had always had the problem that's not really a problem of having more income than we knew what to do with. And just always just throwing it into a savings account, not really investing it, and never really worrying about it because there was always way more than we ever needed. And we were sitting on a pretty healthy amount of savings, but it was just that savings. And we have a couple of properties, so that helps too. But anyway, so I put it into ChatGPT, and I remember ChatGPT came back to me and was like, I will walk you through this. I will hold your hand. You are not dumb. This is a smart step. You know how ChatGPT is set up to like help you? And then I went back in and I was like, I appreciate this tone. I need you to up it a level. I need you to really talk to me like I am the brightest shining star in the world and I am not an idiot. And it did it. And I appreciate that because I needed that in that moment to feel comfortable moving through all of this. And I have like in my past, reasons for like being scared to talk about money. Money was the cause of my parents' divorce. I thought it was my fault. I have all this like emotional baggage and things I should probably sit down and talk to a psychiatrist about. But it is what kept me, I think, for a long time of digging in and better understanding this world of economics and finance and all of that. And so I opened my investment account, I funded my IRA, I invested my IRA, and things were really moving along. But I still realized that I was super uncomfortable in the minutia of the market and the minutia of investing, of understanding what a good stock was, what an ETF was versus a single company stock or share, or how to do these things. And so I enrolled in a program that I thought would be a good investment for me and would also help me get through those first few months of unemployment when I was really reeling, as so many of us were, post the closure of USAID. I'm just going to pause there in case there's any questions.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. And I really appreciate you sharing how you felt because I think it is extremely relatable. And I have had those moments and still at times have those moments of like, oh my gosh, I just don't know. There's so much information out there and I might know a little piece about this, but then there's like all this other stuff that I don't know. And it can be, it's like this paralysis. Like I sometimes feel paralyzed. It's just like, I don't even know where to start. So I really appreciate you sharing that.
Well, and just to chime in too, like having heard my spouse's retirement lecture a number of times and seen his slides, those it's sort of like making a peanut butter sandwich, right? Like they think that you know all of the steps. So if you're trying to talk someone through making the peanut butter sandwich, you forget like that you actually have to break it down into the little bits and pieces. Like you don't just put the peanut butter on the bread, right? You have to open the jar and get a knife and you have to get a swirl of peanut butter and smear that on the bread, right? So I think often what happens when we ask for advice, especially when it comes to retirement or money, because a lot of us don't know a lot about it, or maybe we think we know a lot about it, but we don't know about that particular part of money. It's really important to get all of the steps. And so, yeah, you open your IRA, but then it just kind of sat there.
Yeah.
And like, how are you to know, right? If that's not a specific instruction. So anyway, thanks for peanut butter sandwiching it for us.
Is there a way to view all of you guys on the screen at the same time? I'm only getting the speaker. It's not letting me change it. It's driving me nuts because I always.
If you're in your phone, then if you swipe to the,
not my phone, it's my iPad.
there's a little There should be a choice for gallery if you click. Maybe not.
No. And this means I never see Morgan or her facial reactions, which I need. I need those because if she's not speaking, it's only going to show me
I'll
her
just have to
speaking.
keep talking then so that you can see me, because then I'll be there. So stop talking and I'll just talk, even though I don't know anything about IRAs or investment. And then that way, or we could talk together, and then people will have to
Oh,
like really try
thanks,
hard to
Morgan.
understand what's being said.
Oh. Yeah. So anyway, so I end up signing up for this course. And I had found it online. I found it on, to be fair, I found it on Instagram, but it was a guy I'd been following on Instagram for a long time who's a former educator and realized this is all the information I wish I'd actually taught my students about finance in high school and university, as opposed to what they're learning out on their own now. So it's this educational basis and this real like breaking it down step by step, and it's very, very repetitive so that it really kind of gets through. And I send this to my nephews all the time. I'm constantly sharing with them all of this stuff in the hope that eventually one of these repetitions will make sense to them. But the program itself, you can get into different tiers of the program based on your budget, and where I was at put me in this tier, and I'll explain that a little bit more. But the simplicity of it is really like, he talks to people who are in massive debt, and he's speaking to people who have, $1 million in savings. And it's the same principle for all of these people. And it's the same methodology for everyone. And it's the same kind of simple steps to take to get your finances in order. And I was always one of those people who they'd say, "Do you have a budget?" And I was like, "Oh God, yeah. I mean, I would spend about this much money a month. I don't know. Whatever. It's this. It's whatever's left in my paycheck or this kind of thing." I really always hated budgeting. I hated it. I hate when people would say like, "What's your monthly budget?" And then I married a man who's obsessed with monthly budgets, and ugh, oh my God. Eventually it clicked. But we'd had a really strong monthly budget in some of the places where we lived before. We've had a difficulty doing that here in Cali because things have been so in flux. But anyway, the step one really is to kind of take an assessment of your actual finances. Like, what are your assets? How much do you have in each account? How much savings and how much debt do you have? What is that debt? Is it a mortgage? Is it a student loan? Is it a high interest credit card? And there's a lot of ways, and I'm not really going to get into that because I didn't do it. So I can't speak from experience. I didn't have any debt when I started this program, which meant I was in a particularly good vantage point to do this, because I was really just looking at the farther pieces, the investments and the growing of the assets. I didn't have anything I needed to pay off. But if you are in that place, then the focus is always on the credit card debt, on the high interest payments, and getting that secured. And there's a step-by-step process where you're also dumping money into other buckets as well. So I'm just going to lay out those buckets really quickly so that we all kind of know what there is. So in terms of what you're doing with the money that you have after your monthly payments, after you've figured out what your budget is, and after those things have been done, that money is immediately going to go into an emergency fund. A lot of people call it fuck you money. I like that because I like the word fuck and I use it as much as possible. But this, and now Susie has to put an explicit posting on this. But this is that safety net that you have that says, if I got laid off, if I lost my job, if I had a horrible hospital bill or something like this, I have 5 months of my monthly budget stored away in a high yield savings account. And I talked to my parents about this. I talked to other people, and they're like, "Yeah, I've got savings. I've got my emergency fund." I'm like, "Where is it?" And they're like, "It's at the co-op. It's down at the local credit union, getting 0.01% return per year." And I just want to shake them. And I had been lucky because my bank had a special high yield savings account. So my savings has actually always sat in a high yield savings account where it was doing nothing more than getting 4% for the last, I don't know how many years. which always to me looked like pretty good amount of money and a pretty good amount of interest at the end of the year. But I wasn't investing anything. I had no idea that it could grow so much more. But anyway, so step one is filling that account and opening a high yield savings account. And there's a lot of different places where you can do this. It doesn't, if your bank doesn't offer it, move it somewhere else. There are so many new banks that aren't brick and mortar banks that are online now that offer 3 to 4% in savings, and it's pretty easy to find these just by googling them. SoFi is one that a lot of people use, but even your brokerage account will give you 3 to 4% if you put all your money into, say, Fidelity or Charles Schwab or one of these places. You can also have your emergency fund sitting there, earning at least 3 to 4% every month. And so you've now stacked this emergency fund and you don't touch it. It's just sitting there. It's just in case, and it's always there. And once that is full, then the next step, and you can do these at the same time, or you can do them one by one by one. I paid off my high interest debt. Now I'm filling up my savings account. Now that excess savings that I'm going to pay myself every month, whatever portion of my salary I decide I'm saving every month, that is paid to me. And now that account, the high yield savings account, is full. So I'm going to move into investments and retirement accounts. Retirement's a little tricky because you may work at a company where you have a 401k and that's being done for you. You should still make sure that you understand the investments that are being managed for you and how that 401k is growing. You might have a TSP. You might have an individual retirement account as an entrepreneur that you're putting money into, or you may just have an IRA. All of these are retirement vehicles, and these need to be the third bucket. Paid off all of our debt, we've got our emergency fund, and now we need our retirement savings to build up and to be as maxed out as possible. That's kind of the next chunk. If you can, and Daniel Brown and I differ on this, and a lot of other people, but if you can fill up your IRA at the beginning of the year, 7,500 now. If you're above 50, I think it's 8,000. If you put that in on January 1st, you have the whole year for that to compound. A lot of people will just put in pieces per month of their salary as it comes, which is also fine. But if you can put it in at the beginning of the year, I think you get more bang for your buck in terms of the compounding that happens after that. And so you can even take that out of your emergency fund and then refill your emergency fund with that $7,000 to $8,000 while that money is already starting to grow and compound within your IRA. Your 401k and these other pieces, those are going to happen automatically. Hopefully you have those all set up. If you're scared to have that conversation, just do it. Just talk to the person at the office or whoever it is and figure it out. They were probably nervous once too and didn't know what they were doing. So have those conversations. And if you are an entrepreneur, you own your own business, it's trickier. And you will need to set up a different kind of retirement savings. In addition to an IRA, if you wanted more than an IRA, and I'm not going to talk about traditional versus Roth or any of these, just get an IRA, just get a traditional IRA and start from there. Just get the ball rolling. That's really all this is about. I opened mine in Fidelity, and I'm glad that I did because I ended up moving everything in there. Morgan, you cannot chat me and make fun of me while we're in the middle of this conversation.
You bet I can. Well, it seemed like you were providing useful information, but I didn't want to forget to make fun of you later. So I sent it in a message.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
But next time I'll just interject.
Yeah. Or let it go. I mean, I'm just not. Anyway, the IRA stuff was really tricky for me. I'm not going to lie. I didn't fully understand it. I didn't understand why you couldn't pull it back out or if it was locked up and what age and all of these things. But use AI. I really think it's really helpful in these circumstances where you feel too intimidated to talk to your brokerage or to talk to someone you know who does finance really well. Ask AI a bunch of questions. They will give you, and I've used these prompts before where it's like, no, tell me step by step exactly what I need to do. And it will say, you log into this page, you put this here, you transfer this amount here, you do this here. And it is step by step. And I'm so happy I came into this in the age of AI where I didn't let my fear and intimidation and insecurity stop me from doing something because I had this other tool, which thank you, Claude, and whatever I've named my chatbot this week. But yeah, so that's so you've got bucket one, pay off all your debt, accumulate your emergency fund, max out your retirement vehicles, whichever those are for you. And then the last one is really your investment portfolio. And this can go in a lot.
Before you go into that, can I just ask a question about the pay off all your debt? Because
Yeah.
if you have mortgages, you have investment properties, that kind of debt, I mean, like that's okay to just like let be
Yeah.
paid off over time, right?
Yeah, let me say it's really the focus is on the high interest debt.
Consumer debt, yeah.
Yeah. Student loans, you're paying month to month. Mortgages, you're paying month to month. You may have income that is paying those things for you. That's exactly right, Lisa. That's not what I'm talking about. It's a great question. It's really, it's the debt that's really eating up your income that you want to get rid of. And so, and you can be doing all of these things at the same time. If my paycheck is 5,000, maybe I'm spending 1,000 to pay down that debt. I'm putting 1,000 into my mortgage. I'm putting 400 because it's all I have extra into my emergency fund and $25 into my IRA. That's what I can do. So you can do all of those at the same time. Or you can do kind of the snowball one where you do one and then you're focused on the other and you're focused on the next one and the next one. Whatever works for you. What's fun and what's interesting is once you get that high yield or that high interest debt paid off and that emergency fund maxed out and the IRAs are maxed out, now all your income that's coming in can go straight into investments because all of those things are tapped. They're full and you don't have to do anything for the rest of the year. So that's when you'll really start to see your investments start to grow, is when you've already filled up those other buckets. And that's when things get fun, which was really the focus of my course, which was on that last bucket, which was really like, how do we accelerate growth of these, of this money that's sitting here? And it might, and some people are really, really comfortable putting that money into one broad ETF that has pieces of the entire US stock market in it. And they will leave it there and they will let it ride. And that generally really, really works for people. They say the best investors are dead people and people who forgot their password to their account because they don't
Then you don't move it.
They don't change it. They don't do anything with it. And so those people are really the ones who see the most growth over time. I don't know if that's true in my case. I think I've done a pretty good job of growing mine more than a dead person. But I'm also still really new to this, so I hesitate to recommend this for everyone. But that pile can really start to grow, and it can really start to grow exponentially. And so that's really the money that when you do retire, you will hear a lot about this 4% rule. You can take 4% out of that account every month and live on it once you know your monthly budget, once you know what monthly budget you want in your old age, and then you accumulate the nest egg that you need. And there's all sorts of online calculators to be able to do this for you. That you can draw that 4% from there, because the theory is that the stock market will forever continue to grow on average of 4% a year. So you're not touching any of your underlying capital when you pull that out in retirement. Fun fact, most people get so good at this and so good at the savings and so good at the investments, it becomes much harder for them to use the money that they've been saving all of this time. And so they've seen this reverse effect as well, where you end up sitting on millions of dollars and you just don't know how to spend it because all you ever did was save it, which is a problem I would like to have.
I don't have that problem.
I would like to sit down with a counselor and go over that problem of how to spend my millions of dollars.
You can always come to us. I feel like we'll just always be here for you.
We have a good advice for you.
I don't think that will happen to me. I have a feeling that will not be my particular issue. I'm not worried. Let's say that. But when people start really young, it can be an issue because they might hit really big numbers by the time they're in their 30s. And they could theoretically walk away from jobs and walk away from income sources and live on what they've already accumulated, but they don't know how. And this whole panic sets in of like what to do.
But that is a good point. I mean, that is a good point in that, like, you are saving this in order to be able to enjoy it, not just to save it. And I think this is a realization we've started to have where, although it has been extraordinarily expensive to be evacuated, on the other hand, like we do have enough to like go on trips or do this or buy another pair of shorts because we didn't pack any. So I mean, just to say like it is, you are 100% correct. Like to get out of that mindset of like, I must save every penny. Um, I mean, your children will of course appreciate it, but someone's going to have to pay the taxes on it. And why shouldn't you appreciate it? And just anyway, so that was a really rambling point, but go ahead.
I
No,
also think we see it in the boomer generation where people won't step away from jobs and retire and kind of get out of the way because they're still in this I've got to like accumulate wealth mindset.
Mhm.
And like so many don't need to accumulate any more wealth, and it's okay for them to phase into a new financial mindset. Um, and so
Or
I think it's
move out
important
of
to
their large home and let somebody younger with a family buy it.
yeah. Yeah. And I think I think it's important to talk about and just recognize because even John and I were not at that place of like, formal retirement, but there's been times where like, we set these financial goals. We met them. And then it's like, okay, make new financial goals. And then we met those and then make new ones. And at one point I was like, well, like when is enough enough? Like we've met these goals. Check, check, check. And so I think it is important to talk about and just be real with ourselves of where we're at in that.
It sounds like
Lisa,
John needs us to help
Yeah.
him spend his millions too.
I mean, you can join me because I'm pretty good at it.
Yeah, I mean, if there's
you know, if
overflow,
John
we're
wants to
here.
pay to me to go to Italy for the story jam, I'm just gonna raise my hand and be like, I'm down with that.
Perfect.
But you bring up a really interesting point, Lisa, which is something that Juan and I had a conversation about the other day, and he still can't tell me. But I asked him to define what is enough.
Mm,
What is enough and what does enough look like? Because for me, that's the end goal, right? Like
uh-huh.
how big of a nest egg do you want to be sitting on when you hit 50, when you hit 60? What is enough that you'll feel comfortable walking away from a job you don't like now, or doing this, or making a big investment in some crazy company that says it can 3D print meat without hurting animals. These things happen. And
Hypothetically, just a total
hypothetically,
hypothetical.
hypothetically, that might be one investment in his portfolio. Um, don't even ask me what the other ones are. I'm really glad he sticks to his guns and doesn't make a bunch of money off of Palantir like I do. But whatever. It is what it is. So yeah, defining what is enough for you, for your family, for your goals, is a fun journey in and of itself. And I think that people, when they're comfortable with the minutia of the general finances and the general economics and the household budgeting, should really have that kind of conversation, which is a very big and very far-ranging conversation. And a lot of us, and I think several of us, have this issue with our spouses where we have very different ideas of what our retirement looks like and where that retirement will happen and what that, and at least for me, and I also have a spouse who's very reticent in a lot of ways to talk about the future, like it's bad luck, like we might jinx it, like we might, like it's very hard for me to get him to plan a vacation more than 6 months in advance because the end of the world could happen and why would we waste our time? But my spouse is Colombian and lived through civil war and lived day by day for the majority of his life, so I get that. I know where he's coming from, but it does not make financial planning easy.
Mhm. But that is an important point, though. Like to get on the same page as your partner, like hopefully you are all planning on retiring together, right? So like what does that look like? And how can you, it's not about compromise, right? It's about like finding that point where you agree
Mm-hmm.
and you are both happy with what that goal looks like and that what that future looks like. That's a really important conversation to have early on in a relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And to your point of like, here's what, some of the things that Juan went through. I mean, I remember a number of years ago, John and I were with his family and doing kind of like ancestry things in the Netherlands. And his grandfather, when he was like very young, his parents immigrated to Canada. And so John's mom grew up with this get ahead, get ahead. We have to get ahead because that was the whole point of uprooting a family and moving to a new country is a chance to get ahead. And John very much absorbed that. And I was like, oh, this makes so much sense that he grew up with this, like, get ahead, get ahead. And we started talking about it. And John was like, well, what did you grow up learning about? And I was like being kind of encouraged to do. And I thought about it. And I'm like, I like kind of like don't get into debt and live a quiet life. Like that was kind of my upbringing. My parents didn't teach me anything about finances other than don't get into debt. And my dad, freaked out the first time I bought a house because he thought it was a terrible idea. And I was like, thanks for your concern, Dad. It's going to be okay. This is a good decision. But so it's really helpful then to understand that and then move into our conversations about, okay, like we've gotten ahead, check. Now what do we want to do?
Yeah. And it's tough. I'm not going to say that it's an easy conversation either. This might be where you realize, so I really want to retire in Spain, and my partner really wants to retire in Colombia. And I don't want to live in Colombia as an old person. It is hard to live here. I want to have public transportation and museums and Europe at my front door. So we're still trying to figure that out. We've come to the conclusion that we will do half-half.
Fair.
Which is where we sit now, which helps us because now our goals are we need to buy an apartment in Spain. What does that look like? Where will that be? All of these things. And and this kind of fun stuff. But it does kind of give you the direction and the goal. And then when you see your wealth start to accumulate, you can really be like, hey, we're doing it. We're doing this thing together towards this other thing. And I think that really has knock-on positive effects in relationship. Money is something that tears relationships apart. Tore my family apart. It is something that my partner and I have never fought about, never worried about, but it has also been the luxury of having more income than we ever knew what to do with. And when that was strained, possibly for the first time this year, just the fact that I didn't have an income and I'd always been the one with an income, that was interesting and fun for us to look at and dissect and see what happens when the one who always has the income doesn't anymore. And it's been fun.
So Hillary has
Sounds
clearly
fun.
interesting definitions of the word fun.
Yeah, what a ball.
So, but
sorry.
I mean, I'm sure like I and many other people have a lot of questions. Hillary, 5 like summary points of your money investment.
Okay. Here's one that I really want to like double tap at the beginning, which is that like what I felt like they didn't want us to know, they being like the patriarchy. Women are really fucking good at this.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I am just like, why now I follow all of these women investors, these women owners of ETFs who are just fucking moving the space.
Real
And
quick,
this
what
is
does ETF stand for?
sorry. So ETFs are really the kind of I'm going to put my money all in one place and it's going to have exposure to the whole market or the whole tech sector. It's a group of shares or stocks or companies that are managed under one umbrella. And it's a simplified investment structure. And that I say that there are like 50,000 ETFs in the world, which doesn't make things easier, but there's like 5 really big ones that people invest in that cover either the whole stock market or the Fortune 500 companies or the Dow Joneses or these kinds of things. But
Okay.
I don't actually remember what ETF stands for right now.
I don't need to know. It's okay. That helps.
Something fund. But
I figured
they're
that
not
was fun. Okay. We got it.
they're not individual stocks. They're configurations of stocks and companies grouped together by theme. And so anyway, so yes, so the patriarchy doesn't want us to know how good women are at this and how good we are at finance. And I feel like that's just been one more glass ceiling to break through in this whole journey, which has been like, hey, I'm not innately bad at finance or math or these kinds of things. Like I actually get this. Like I love it. I find that I am less emotional with money. When the market goes bonkers, which it has every single day under Donald Trump, like I'm pretty even keel, but I watch my male friends like screaming at the ceiling, and I'm like, hey, don't be so hysterical. We got this. It's fine. Um, and I think also women can be naturally risk adverse, which is a real asset in the stock market and in investing. You know, we think longer term. We think the duration and length of our families. We come at it from you know, a pain pleasure kind of trade-off sort of thing. And I think this makes women really, really good at this. And this is just something they didn't want us to know for the longest time. So educate yourself, formulate your strategy, get your assets and your budgets and your ducks in a row. Forgive yourself for not having done it so far in your life, which was something I had to really overcome. And then just get really curious about all the ways that your investments can really start to make money. And so I joined a program called Call to Leap, and that teaches you how to trade options on the stock market and trade cash secured puts and covered calls. And this all sounds like jargon, and it is, but it was a way for me to start earning an income this year, using the money I had in savings to actually generate income. And it also allows me to do this within my IRA. And so far this year, in addition to the 7,500 I placed on January 1st, I've added another $5,000 in capital into my IRA. So I'm desperately playing catch up, right? Because as you guys know, I started this when I was 40. I didn't actually place the money until I was 43. And so my IRA is way below what it should be, in my opinion. But that is of my own making. I've forgiven myself, but now I'm doing this thing where I get to make up for lost time. And it was only because I educated myself and I got curious about finance and economics, and I paid a really large amount of money for this Call to Leap program. I remember it was almost $8,000. And I said, this is 3 months. Like, if I don't make that money back in 3 months, this will have been a lousy investment. And I did. By the end of that 3 months, I was at like 9,500. So I'd already put that money back in, and to date, I think I'm at like 50,000 that I've made just from the skills that I learned in this program.
Awesome.
Now, just like real estate, you need to have money to buy a house to make a rental income on that house. Like, for me to make money in the stock market, I had to have money that I could use in the stock market. But there were a lot of fundamentals that were taught to me in that course, and then it went all the way into this like bear spreads and leaps and all of these fun financial instruments and things that I had no idea about, and had no idea I would enjoy this so much. And so I'm forever grateful to the team over there who did that, or who taught me all of this. They remain friends to this day, and we stay in contact about trades and what's going on in this. And they have a legacy community you can be part of for some other exorbitant amount of money, which I refuse to pay. But I felt like I got from them what I needed to be able to do something, because I'm writing a book, I'm starting another business, I'm doing this thing. None of those things generate cash. And I didn't want the full responsibility of a cash income to fall on my spouse. And so this has really allowed me to put, you know, $4,000 or $5,000 or $6,000 into our account every month, using the money we already have in investments. And so I'm happy about this. That's the outcome. But what I really wanted people to take away from this was the process that got me there, and the forgiveness and the curiousness and the budgeting and the, you know, the debt and the emergency fund and the IRAs and all of these things along the way, because I think that it's a lot. It's a lot to try to do in a day, but it's so freeing as well to have all of that settled and working for you.
Morgan has her hand raised.
I
No,
do.
I can't
I
hear it.
have a
It's just not on my
question.
screen.
Yeah. I think, well, I don't know. Okay. I'm always like, well, if I start, what if I lose everything right away? Because that's like such a stereotypical stock market story.
Fair question.
So I am curious, like, is that just another ploy to keep us away? Is like, well, don't do something stupid with your lady brain. You'll lose all our money. So help me understand why that is not real.
Yeah. So if I had entered the stock market yesterday and immediately invested $5,000 in Microsoft, when the market opened this morning, it would be around $4,000. And I would panic, right? Like the thing you want to do is like, oh my God, I've just lost $1,000. Like, I can't tell anyone this. Oh my God, what am I going to do? You don't lose it until you pull it out. So it's just paper money until paper. I don't want to say it's paper money. It's your real money. And it's going to move and it's going to ebb and flow. And with every tweet from Donald Trump, it's going to jump around a whole lot. This year has been hell for people. This is the year I decided to get into the stock market, and it's been the most volatile year on record. And the way Trump has played the stock market and used it to enrich himself has been a journey in and of itself, and seeing that and understanding what he's doing now, because I have this base understanding. It's horrifying. It's horrifying for our country, but it's also like, yeah, it's going to move. It's going to, and it's going to move huge amounts. But this tendency over time is growth. And one of the things that my coach always said, he's like, when in doubt, zoom out. Like, don't look at the day-to-day trades. Look over the course of the last 6 months. Look over the course of the last year. What has this stock or this ETF done? Because in general, you're going to see a steady increase over time. He's like, but if you look at just today or this week, you might have a panic attack. So when in doubt, just zoom out and look at the tendency over time. And again, you never lose the money unless you sell.
It's good advice. It's a lot like weighing yourself on a scale every day when you're trying to lose weight.
Yeah, that soy sauce the night before on the sushi really does add a lot of water weight to the body. Just speaking from experience.
Like, it's just soy, everybody. That's it.
It's just soy. It's just soy.
I think the other thing, to your point, Morgan, my brain tends to want to play out the worst case scenario. And I had somebody challenge me on that. And I said, yeah, like I play this worst case scenario game. And like in the end, I'm like, oh, okay, like I'll figure out how to manage it and whatever. And they were like, well, what about the best case scenario? And my response was, I don't know. I never play that game. And it challenged me to play both games, because worst case scenario, fine, like play that out. Maybe I lose my $5,000. Best case scenario, maybe that $5,000 turns into $50,000. And the reality is typically somewhere in between. So pushing myself to play the best case scenario game when my brain really wants to just play that worst case scenario game also helps me kind of find balance and figure out where to take the risk as well.
Yeah. I also, within my brokerage account, I have different, you can divide it up. You can open as many little brokerage accounts within your brokerage account as you want. And you can, I have in there, I have one titled long-term investments. I never touch these. Everything that happens in that portfolio will happen in that portfolio for the rest of its life. I add money to it and I place that new money, but I don't touch it. I have another one that's, it's me kind of doing my strategy that I'm doing here that earns income. I do the wheel, I sell the covered call, then I place the put, and I do this. And the income I get from that goes into a separate account called premiums. And that's where I put that money. And I'll invest that money over the course of a month. And then at the end of the month, I remove it and transfer it to my bank account. That's my income that I earn. So there's a lot of things you can do in there. And you can also just have your savings account, your emergency fund can just be sitting in there in cash as well. And so there is something I will plug. Charles Schwab has a program called Think or Swim, and it's free. It's online. It's within their account. You have to open up a Charles Schwab account to have it. But it's like when you were given paper money in school and you got to trade it and you got to make money off of it. That's what you do in Think or Swim. Oh, what would it be like to buy a stock at this time and see it grow? You can do that. You give yourself $1 million in Think or Swim. You can trade it, you can buy it, you can sell it, you can do whatever you want, and you can see your initial amount grow or decline, and you can practice and you can get really familiar with the jargon, with the language, with the ebbs and flows of stocks over time. When it's earnings week, like this yesterday, today, all of these big corporations are doing their quarterly earnings. So the stocks are flying all over the place. Based on that information, the Fed chair has an announcement. The stocks are going to go crazy. So, but you can, if you're not quite comfortable putting your own cash into it yet, you can do this virtually through this program. And I think for a lot of people, doing those training wheels, which I myself did for 2 months before I invested my own money, had really helped calm me in a way that took away some of that fear, Morgan, about that initial investment. I got some kind of notification that if I keep using hand gestures, it will turn those hand gestures into emoticons.
Your Zoom loves you.
I don't know.
Eh,
Well, I do appreciate that suggestion to like have a practice account. Like
yeah, that's good.
the training wheels, that's a great idea. And you know, then maybe you learn what ETF stands for amongst other vocabulary. But like it is scary to think about, oh my gosh, it's my money, I'm putting it out there, and then whether or not you'll get returns, which, as you say, of course, over time it will be a positive return, but it's hard not to be reactionary when you see the numbers jumping around on the charts.
Set it, forget your passcode, just leave it there. Just or die, either of these
Yeah,
things
just
work.
don't die. Don't die. Just
Don't
forget.
die.
Also,
Well-
exchange traded fund for those that are listening and are just like pulling their hair out because none of us knew exactly what ETF stood for. It's
Because we don't know how to
exchange
Google.
traded
But
fund.
exchange traded fund means absolutely jack shit to me. Like I don't even know what that means when you've said
Sure. You
you-
explained what it was, but
Yeah,
that's what the
you're the
acronym
one who
is.
defined it, Hillary. You defined it.
Yeah.
So
You
you
did.
do
Again,
know
I
what it
caveated
means.
all of this with I am not a financial advisor.
ETF sounds more cool. Like you know the things because you don't need to know what the words are.
But
Hillary-
I really think this vocabulary should be part of all of our vocabulary. We should be talking about this. We shouldn't just be letting the men have these conversations about the stock exchange at the cocktail parties. Like, this is our world too. And we are really, really good at this.
Yeah, I like that.
That's very valuable insights, Hillary. Really, thank you. I've learned a lot, and I have listened to my husband talk about this. I don't even know how many times. So maybe it's just more
Just the
useful to
delivery.
talk with
The
women.
delivery.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Hillary.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And thanks everybody for tuning in and listening. I'm sure we'll have another insightful conversation coming at you soon. But thanks so much for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.